Ladies and gentlemen, live from New York in the world-famous Howl Art Gallery, who's ready for a presentation of indie queer magazines. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Oh my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Linda Simpson, and guess what? I'm a big part of Howl until July 17th, because this exhibit that is up right now is for a magazine I used to publish mostly in the 80s and 90s with a little revival in the aughts, called My Comrade. And there's even a new issue available for sale at the counter. And ladies and gentlemen, most of these pages that you can see are from the 80s and 90s. I don't know if you can tell immediately, but they are. And right now we're going, and I'm certainly not the only person that's done, indie gay press, and that's what the focus of our presentation is. I kind of advertise it as a panel a little bit. It's not really a panel. We're gonna bring the magazines, and if you want your money back, go ahead. So, but what we'll do is we'll bring each magazine up one by one and then talk to them and let them describe their magazine a little. And so, familiarize yourself with them. Before we do anything, let's have a big hand for a Howl Happening Gallery, everybody. Thank you. Got the wonderful proprietor, Jane. Thank you, Jane. Cynthia, of course, is the gallery director. Aldo, you're cute. What do you do, Aldo? All right, Aldo does nothing here, but he hangs around. And then we've got Doug and I think Jake. All right, well, thank you very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as mentioned, we'll bring the magazines up by one. We'll give each one like about 10, 12 minutes. We're not gonna keep this going on forever. And we've got slides, too, that will prompt conversation. So the first magazine I'd like to bring up, and we'll do this alphabetically, is Bud's Digest. And today we've got the editor. Let's hear for, let me see if I can get your last name right, Mac Malachowski. Come on up, Mac. Let's hear for Mac. Did I say your last name right?
I think you nailed it.
Thank you, Mac. Now, Mac and I know each other from me having actually been in Bud's Digest.
Cover girl.
Thank you so much. Now, yours, I think, is the only magazine tonight that's not a print magazine. Yours is totally online, right?
Yeah, I used to do a magazine called Mouthfeel Magazine, and that was a print magazine. So I've moved to digital now to smooth things out a little bit.
And the magazine you did previously was a food magazine, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Well, how did you get the idea for tell everybody what Bud's Digest is.
So Bud's Digest, as you said, is a digital magazine I do with my creative partner, Ben Towsley. And it's a music and art magazine for queer stoners.
What? Well, now, how'd you get that idea? I mean, it's a great idea, but how'd you get that? Or how'd you come up with that concept?
I mean, it was, I didn't really smoke pot, like, all through my 20s at all, not a puff. So in my 30s, I started smoking pot, and I started, like, connecting over music and art and how different it sounded when you were high as a kite. So connecting with my business partner, Ben Towsley, he's also a big stoner. We became great friends, and all of a sudden, the impetus for this magazine was, what can happen when two great buds are getting high and being recorded.
Oh, I see. You know what? I love the magazine. I think it's really good. I think even if you're not a stoner, it's got a lot of appeal, really.
Yeah, we have tons of editorial stuff, but we also have like a music playlist series called Trip Advisors.
Yes.
Everyone from J.D. Sampson to Andy Butler. It's a really cool section of the magazine, which can only happen digitally, of course.
Well, let's show the first slide. We've got slides to illustrate each of the magazines, and I'll look forward. I didn't think this out. Look at that. That looks beautiful. Okay, here we go. And here is the cover of one of the recent issues, correct?
Yeah, issue 4, this is Jeffrey Self, and of course I forgot his name.
Oh, well, you're a stoner. Of course you forgot his name. Okay.
The creator and actor of Search Party, of course, one of my favorite shows on HBO.
Mm-hmm.
And this was styled in Malibu by J.J. Griggs, who's an amazing stylist, who also works on that TV show. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was a really great conversation. They, of course, had like tons of funny stuff to talk about, and they got as high as possible for it.
When you put out the magazine, do you put out like the whole magazine all at once online, or do you like trickle it in?
Yeah, we treat it just like a regular editorial platform. We have we do a quarterly issue, so every 3 months we're coming out with a new issue. And yeah, we like to release it as like one cohesive piece. We love how the main features fit with the sub features, and we have a great kind of smaller sections with kind of lower production photos, but
It looks, I love it. Can you go to the next slide, please? I think the photography is really great too. Who took these photos?
I can't believe it.
Oh, okay.
It's all in here. It's all in here, I swear.
Yeah. All right, well, let's go to the next photo because Mac's having a little trouble with his memory. And now,
Cool.
And now this is kind of a catch, right? 'Cause
Yeah.
are they both in that new movie Fire Island?
Yeah, Joel Kim Booster, of course, the writer of Fire Island, and then his kind of muse and very, very good friend Bowen Yang. This was shot by Jason Rogers at Rain Studios in Bushwick. And yeah, this was definitely my favorite, probably my favorite photo shoot we've ever produced for the magazine, and definitely my favorite conversation too. I mean, as you know, we record the conversations and transcribe them for the digital platform. This one reads so funny. It's like they are just two people in one and really jam and are on these edibles the whole time. So
Now, do you approach the people and say, like, do you smoke pot? Do you want to be in the magazine, or do you kind of have an idea that they've already made public that they're pot advocates?
Some people. I mean, we like to say it's a music and art magazine for queer stoners. So some of the people in the magazine, very few, truly just don't smoke weed. But what they create is just such stoner content. It's a musician or somewhat, or an artist who truly isn't a stoner for themselves, but what their work gives to the world is like, super psychedelic. So it's also an avenue of it. But yeah, really, you find a lot of people who are like, want to talk about weed.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Let's go to the next image, please. And here we have, now you got Amy Sedaris, even.
Yes.
That's good too. And I didn't read this interview yet, but I shall. And now, was Amy another person that you approached, or did she, did you know her through like a circle?
Well, we're friendly with Adam Selman, and they're kind of iconic buds. They're famously very, very close, and they both professionally and have had a long time friendship. So yeah, he asked Amy if she'd be into it, and she was. This was shot by Christine Hahn, who's like one of my favorite photographers. And yeah, we shot it at her apartment. It's called Versus the Volcano because they have this shared love of this like novelty size like bong volcano, and it's kind of in the background of all the photos. And
cool. All right, well, let's go to the next slide, please. And this is, what's his name again, the author?
Brontes Purnell.
Yes, and that's a great photo. Who took that?
This was. Why did I not come prepared
all right,
for this?
Okay. Next time, write it on your sleeve, okay? All right, well, you know what, whoever did it, you'll have to go to the magazine and find out. But it's a great photo, and I kind of think this really captures, like, the spirit of the magazine, too, right?
Yeah, Brontes shot in his home in Oakland, which is, like, a very chaotic, but also kind of beautiful and progressive place. He, out of definitely all of the people we have interviewed, he seems to be one of the truest artists. He just does not give a fuck. It's so cool. I really, really like his point of view. So and he comes through in the article too.
Do you guys have? I don't think you have advertising on your magazine, do you?
No, yeah, it's something we're just doing for fun while we wait for funding.
But it looks like it'd be placed like great for like with popping legalized all over. It seems like there'd be lots of kind of ancillary. Did I say that word right? Products that could advertise.
Yeah, I mean we are totally welcome to that, and it's been cool doing. We've done 5 issues. We'll have a 6th issue out in a couple weeks, or a couple months, and it's been fun doing it just for ourselves and sharing this sort of passion with people who want to read it. And it definitely is picking up people along the way. Like you're talking about, people are sort of drawn to it in a funny way, and so if we can retain that spirit and also make it a little financially successful, it'd be cool too. But for now, this stuff is like so fun to do.
Could you go to the next image, please? Oh, by the way, this is Doug operating the slide projector. So let's have a hand for Doug, everybody. Very nice. Now, Mac, I'm going to put you on the spot again. Who took this photo?
It was shot by Liam Bensby.
Look at this, Mac, you're the photographer.
This one's easy because it's Liam Bensby, who's really, really
Say
amazing.
the name again?
Bensby.
Bensby, okay.
Who's a really, really amazing up-and-coming musician, and one of his best friends is his creative director, and they produced this photo shoot together. It's definitely another one of these like peak buds moments, these people like kind of creating art as a pair. It really, really does something unique to the art for sure when you're doing it with your friend.
Yeah, it's a really cool photo, really
Yeah, I love
trippy.
this one.
So you're always trying to pair people with each
Yeah,
other.
definitely. And I think a lot of people, when we start talking to them, they have that one person that they immediately think of. Christine, the musician, who's like one of my favorites, working right now. Has just one of her best friends, Dave, is somebody who turned her on to weed and turned her on to mixing weed with media. And that story comes out really, really cool because it feels like such a genuine, like twisted friendship they have. So.
Could we go to the next slide, please? I think we got a few more. Oh, and this is that, I wanted to highlight that this is that TripAdvisor. This is great. I've listened to a couple of the playlists. They're really good. So you ask people to put playlists as kind of a trip.
Yeah, so it's very, very much, we just open-ended. We ask people for a stoner playlist. And I really, really love seeing like how different people's reaction is to that, or what they produce out of it. So yeah, some are as short as 10 minutes long, some are as long as 4 hours and 20 minutes.
You know what? You should ask me. I'm really good at
Oh my
Spotify
God, you're
playlists.
right next.
I really am.
Total? Okay, Linda, yeah.
All right. Okay. Hear that.
Who's going to be on it?
Well, oh my goodness. How come your mic is so much louder? Okay, here we go. All right, could we go to the next image, please? You'll find out who's going to be on it. But really, that's me. That's me. So, would you like to explain a little about who these two are? These models? Did you hire professional? Oh, that's me.
Well, Linda, you know, you and I got stoned together outside John Roberts' birthday party.
No, I did not. Outside of what?
John Roberts' birthday party, that's where we met.
Oh, you're right. I was at his birthday party. Not for the photo shoot. I was completely
but then
professional.
I think in that same moment I asked you if you'd be into something like this.
Yeah. And the person that I'm with is the comedian John Roberts, who's the voice of on Bob's Burger. He's the voice of Linda, and but John comes from the East Village scene, so I knew John for quite a while, and so we were buds.
And you guys had a great conversation,
oh my
right?
God.
It was super fun.
Oh,
right?
it was really great. I mean, he's kind of gapped out, but it was very fun. And the photo shoot was a blast. That's from Tompkins Square Park.
Yeah.
And Jason, who I knew a little from years back, is a super duper photographer. He's one of your go-to photographers.
For sure, yeah. He's a big part of Buds, and he has a lot of great input, and his work is amazing too.
Okay, 2 questions that I'll be asking all our participants tonight. What is the plans and goals for Buds Digest?
Well, we'd like to continue doing like a multimedia output. We'd like to do more editorial stories with Buds. We'd also like to do more music and video.
Would you ever want to do print?
Yeah, that's something we've also talked about too, maybe turning a lot of these like really, really fun stories into a book or something and adding some extra stuff with it. But yeah, it's sometimes you can get a little too relaxed with your hobby and you want to like keep it pushing a little bit. So if I can muster some of that energy, I will.
Very nice. And the only other question, I guess I probably should have done this in reverse. What's the greatest challenge of putting out something like this?
Yeah, great question. No, it's easy. If you don't owe anyone anything, if you just do it for yourself, then you can pick and choose whatever you want to do. So.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for him. Mac!
Thank you.
Malowski. Did I say that right? Say your last name again. Madakowski. I said it right. Thank you, Mac. That was great. If you're just joining us and you want to grab a seat, please do, because we're continuing with this presentation of indie queer zines. And I totally recommend everyone check out Buds Digest online. It's really good. The interviews are great. The music that people recommend is good, etc. All right, everybody. Now we've got we're going on alphabetically. Let's see, Buds. Now we're going to a magazine that I'm not kidding. I think this is the most influential gay magazine of all time. I mean, maybe with one other exception, My Comrade Magazine. No, I'm just kidding. No, very influential magazine, and we'll find out more about it. Representing Butt Magazine, let's hear from Michael Bullock, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, Michael.
Hi.
Now, Michael, tell us how you were involved with Butt Magazine, please, or how you have, or if you still are.
I am I'm still involved. But I was the American publisher of Butt Magazine. So when I met them before they launched it, and I had just published Ryan McGinley's first book, and Ryan McGinley's first book had like graffiti artists and punks and like all these kind of like macho, usually straight worlds mixed with gay stuff. And they thought that was incredible, and so I distributed Ryan's first book, and they wanted to reach the same audience. And
Well, but you're the American publisher because the magazine's from Europe, right? From Holland,
it
right?
started in Holland, and before they started, when I just moved to New York, I was working for this magazine called Index, and they based Butt on Index. Index was their favorite magazine.
Did they?
And they said that they wanted to make a magazine that combined Index and Straight to Hell.
Oh my God, that makes so much sense. You're right. I almost forgot about Index, but they did have a similar format. Yeah. Actually, can you go to the first slide? This is the very first issue, right?
This is
it's
the fifth issue, but
fifth issue.
I included it because of the tagline "International Faggot Magazine for interesting homosexuals and the men that love them." Because I think at the time, International was like I think there was like things happening all over the world, but I think really at the very beginning wanted to connect all the dots internationally.
Yeah, no, it was chic. It was jet set. But how long did Butt run for?
It ran for 12 years. Like we made the print magazine for 12 years. Then there was like 10 years off, and then they put out another issue, and they kind of. They decided not to even like address it they just like put out the next issue.
Why do you think Butt was so incredibly influential? I mean, like every you kind of had to read Butt magazine if you were part of the gay fashion / design / hot guy, you know what I mean, or interested in just sex, crowd.
I mean, I think both Gert and Jaap that founded it,
What's their names?
Gert Yonkers and Jaap.
Gesundheit. What was their names? No, I'm sorry, Michael. I'm so sorry. I couldn't resist. No. Gert and Jaap, right?
Gert and Jaap, yeah. Okay. And I think at the time there was like nothing. There was no editorial space. Like gay mainstream seemed really completely boring, and there was nothing alternative that seemed cool. Like gay culture did not seem cool, and that's why I was so excited to be a part of any change that could happen in gay culture. And I think a lot of people felt that way, and I think they took making the magazine, like the editorial standards were so rigorous. Like they really were super thorough with graphic design and editing, and I think at the time it was like, do we have to all, like, it was, at the time it seems crazy now, but like, it was like, is body hair sexy? Like, it was like, and our different body type, like, can we fetishize different body types? Like, I think it kind of maybe really brought the art bear into fashion. Yeah,
it segued into like a different sort of, aesthetic about like, gay, that was broader, literally, you know what I mean? That could embrace more kind of body types, They came along at the perfect time. Could we go to the next slide, please? And now this is, oh my God. Now this is sort of typical of the attitude, the freewheeling attitude of Butt, in that they would have great interviews, but you would see nudity, with a lot of kind of like, normal guys, I guess, and some of the celebrities that they interviewed. People of note that would strip bare for its pages.
Well, maybe Benjamin should speak to this image.
Oh, did you, well, how do you involve with this, Benjamin?
It's him.
That's you? Yeah. Oh my goodness, stand up. Hi. I didn't recognize you with your clothes on. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
This was taken back in Minneapolis. I was doing a Polaroid series.
Face the crowd, please. Okay.
I was making Polaroids, documenting my life in Minneapolis, and taking naked pictures of myself. So,
But did you submit this to Butt?
I feel like I had like a blog spot, if anyone remembers that, and I would post all my Polaroids on there. And I think Butt found me, maybe. I feel like maybe Felix or... Actually, did you...
These images are really weird.
Yeah. So...
Sorry.
So Butt reached out to me, and I was like really excited because I'd never like had my work published before. So this was the first opportunity for me to have my work
Well, you
published.
look happy in the photo.
Yeah. Yeah, very happy. Yeah, it was a great time. So I'm like super grateful for the opportunity to be able to share like my work through Butt, and it's been really incredible.
Very nice. Well, thank you so much for
Thank you.
giving us
Thanks.
that little personal anecdote. What a coincidence. But let's go to the next image, which maybe we'll get another audience member nude. No. Now, see, here's what you were talking about, though. Normal bodies.
Normal bodies, yeah.
And it did, because, like, you're right. There was, I mean, you know, like most gay magazines back then kind of, like, went for, like, kind of almost a model aesthetic. You know?
Totally, like always with a six-pack and like a waxed chest, and I think the two founders felt really oppressed by all of that imagery, and really felt like I had nothing to do with them, and yeah, I certainly felt that way too.
And then, as you mentioned, the editorial it was mostly interviews, wasn't it? I mean, there were stories
It was interviews,
too.
yeah.
But but you're right. I never saw a typo in Butt. You know what I mean? They ran a tight ship. You know. So it was impressive in that way because it felt like they were making a quality product for people, and the size was cute. Pocket.
Yeah, I mean, I
size
think the
kinda.
pink paper and the size
Yep.
really were part of it like taking off quickly, because it was such a different. And also, yeah, I think to publish full male nudity was really radical. Like, and it was very difficult to distribute at the beginning, because in a lot of the like kind of traditional 8th Avenue gay magazine stores thought it was disgusting. Oh. They're like, why would you pick these people to showcase?
They just didn't get it.
There was definitely like a generational culture divide.
Interesting. Could we go to the next slide, please? And now this is an article you wrote, Michael, right?
Yeah, this was one
What
of
was
my
it?
favorites.
What was this about? I mean, we kind of get it in the
This
headline.
it was a sex party in Brooklyn called Thugs for Thugs, and
Thugs for Thugs?
Thugs for Thugs, yep. And it was when I went to the house, his son answered the door, and
Whose son?
your big dick host who hosted the party. In a Brooklyn brownstone, and it was his primary source of income, and he ran the party for years, and it had like been rumored that 50 Cent, like I think Wendy Williams got in trouble for saying that 50 Cent had attended Thugs for Thugs. So of course I was like, needed to investigate.
But was the gentleman who had the brownstone, was he a participant, or was he just renting it out?
Yeah, he would participate.
Okay, all right. Okay. Well, that's cool. And as you mentioned, and like all that, I mean, there was an index, as Michael was mentioning, there was a magazine called Index that was a bigger magazine. It was my kind of like celebrity-oriented, but like cutting edge. But they used to do that headline thing too, where they would kind of like have a longer headline that was like a sentence, and that was very distinctive, But.
Yes, and I think all the Butt headlines were like very eclectic, like always had their own approach.
They were quirky.
Quirky.
Yeah. Could we go to another slide, please? And now this, why did I pick this? Oh, because again, this is like, I mean, this is very typical, right, of a Butt layout with the, longer headline with a, pow at the end, and then an intro with a sexy photo, and then you would have a Q&A, correct?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think they wanted everyone to speak in their own words, and I think it was really about like people making their own life within gay culture and the varieties of different ways, like people really forging their own way, like not adhering to the typical norms of the day.
What was interesting too is that I never saw a drag queen in, but was there? I don't think there were. No, no. You know what? I'm fine with that. Drag queens get so much attention these days. I was interviewed. Adam Baran interviewed me for the
There's gotta,
online, or
yeah.
did a little article about me online, which is now not out there. I just searched, but I was one of the few to break the barrier. So. But I think that's fine. I think it was kind of a celebration of, masculinity.
It definitely was a celebration of masculinity. And also, I think the other kind of big thing was that Butt was very sex positive. And like really, really deep. The interviews are always kind of about what the person made and what their art was, but also about what their sex life were and what their tastes were. And
explicitly.
I think, like in 2001, 2002, when it started, I think we were still like coming out of like the hangover of AIDS, and even though things were much better, like to talk about gay sex was still really taboo. And I think that it was very deliberately a space to talk explicitly about gay sex, and it got people to say like everything. Like it got kind of like people like Michael Stipe and Marc Jacobs, who were really at the height of their fame, to kind of say everything about what they were interested in.
Let's go to the next slide, please. And here we have, now this is the book that you were talking about, right?
Yeah.
And that was, what was that? That was an anthology of everything?
It was an anthology of the first 5 years. And it was such a big deal, the book, because before I guess the stamp of approval of Taschen means that everyone in culture like now supports you. But before the book, it was like really a struggle to get it distributed, and people thought it was a weird thing. And then after the book, it was like, oh yeah, I've loved this book for you. Everyone was. We had a lot of new fans that had always loved the magazine.
And also, Butt started to get advertising, chic advertising, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was actually one of the other parts of the. I mean, strangely enough, it was sleazy, but it was endorsed immediately by. I think it was Tom Ford was the first. Tom Ford at Gucci took the back cover, and then Hedi Slimane followed suit, and then Marc Jacobs followed suit. So it always had like, and then American Apparel became a huge supporter. But it was like usually in advertising, it's like a pyramid. You like get those brands, and then everyone else follows. And like we got those brands, and no one else followed. It was like, you would, and even like with Gucci, you'd like the marketing department would be like, we're not doing it again, and then someone would have to call Tom Ford and be like, oh no, we are doing this again.
Next slide, please. I think we got a couple more to go. And this is?
This is and just like that. This is the first issue after 10 years.
And this just came out this year,
It came out this year, yeah. And I'm super happy because I got to launch this book that I've been working on for a little while of this drag queen chandelier when he died of cancer in 2017, and we found his diary from when he was 14, and he was living in 1979. His family was the first black family to move to the Simi Valley in LA, and his parents were ultra religious, and he was like an out proud gay 14-year-old that was like kept this scandalous sex diary. And so in this issue, we excerpted some of the diary, and it's going to come out be published by Semiotext next year.
It's really great. It's so lively.
Yeah.
And I met Sean Atelier a couple times. And let's go to the next image. And this is Butt's Not Dumb. They have gotten into some products, including beach towels, right?
This was my favorite project that I did for the magazine.
Oh, were you responsible for this?
I was responsible for this project. It was like David Haskell, who's now the editor of New York Magazine, was like, you should make towels. And then American Apparel was like, yeah, we'll definitely support that. And we made 8,000 of these.
Really?
Yeah, it was like,
Were they hot sellers?
yeah, they sold out.
Great.
But I mean, it was an amazing, I don't know, it was an amazing extension of the brand to see these like all over. Like, and also, like I still get pictures of them today. Like they held up pretty well.
Very nice. Michael, I'm going to ask you a couple questions, like I just asked Matt, but I'll reverse them this time. Okay, what was my question? Wait, what's the greatest challenge? Was that it? Okay, yes. What's the greatest challenge of, I mean, you were deeply involved in the magazine. Do you think it was finances, or I don't want to put words in your mouth?
No, I think, I think, I don't know, towards the end, I think as culture started to shift and we wanted to put I mean, I think the greatest challenge was that it was like a very personal project of the founders. And although they wanted, culture was changing, we were like interested in putting trans people in the magazine and like have more diversity. And they like kind of couldn't let go of, they wanted it to evolve because they knew it needed to, but they also like couldn't let it go from exactly their tastes. So I think that was like, and I think that challenge is now even probably more challenging with it coming out now.
Interesting. And what was my other question? Was the greatest joy? Was that it? Goals. What? Goals. Yes, goals. And
Goals.
What was it? Dreams and aspirations?
I guess, I don't know. I think the most useful thing is just to have there's a very thoughtful context to talk about sex explicitly. And I think that like when Butt was gone, that was really missing from the dialogue. So I think I'm happy that it can return.
Yay. Let's hear it for Michael, everybody. Thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
You may go back to your front row seat. Thanks, Michael. That was great. Got another magazine. Now, this other magazine is a print publication. And we'll find out more about it. Ladies and gentlemen, this magazine is called Frock. Let's welcome Eli Schmidt. Come on, Eli. Hello, Eli. How are you? Grab a mic.
Hi.
Now, Eli, I found out about your magazine because you were kind enough to, I think we were Instagram friends, but then you sent me one, which was very nice of you, and then I learned more about it. But is your magazine kind of a one-man operation?
It's fully a one-man operation. I mean, I shoot everything for the magazine. It's very organic how the content comes about because I can sort of pull a story out of somebody if the right person comes forward to photograph. And then after the photo shoot, I have a loose idea of what I want to do with the images, put them together in terms of a story. But there is a graphic design team that I work with to kind of put things in place and have that kind of formal relationship. I mean, something like Butt was deeply inspiring to make a magazine like Frock. And, they had such a disciplined design, and that really sets a platform for looking at some content that might not be appropriate for everybody, or if you're trying to like seduce people in, using a little bit of that design is always helpful.
Well, let's go to the slide so we can see what we're talking about. And now you always do a collage for
Yes.
the cover of your magazines rather than use like a single image, correct?
Absolutely.
I love it. And the magazine's about, how big is it?
It's small, it's 6x9, so
Yes.
it's sort of like a little pocket journal.
Yes. And so these are all photos that you take. You must be busy. Are you a photographer by trade?
I am a photographer. I've been
Okay.
in New York for 20 years, and I've been a commercial photographer. I did sort of the, working for photographers, and then moved into shooting my own work, doing commercial work. And I was always sort of waiting for somebody to hire me to shoot stuff like this, and it strangely just didn't happen. But I was always interested in making stuff like this, and I was always really sort of like drawn to New York because of things that I was seeing when I was in the Midwest and I was closeted. I didn't have anything gay around me, but I was seeing movies like Wigstock. I was seeing, just whatever gay sort of media was around, and that stuff was always super inspiring to me.
Cool. Well, let's see the next slide, please. And now here's some of the work that you do. And yeah, I can see why they weren't asking you to do this for the commercial work. But this is great. So this is a 2-page spread, correct?
Yeah, this is actually part of, I think, maybe a 6 or 8 page story. That's Devin Franco on the left, and he's with Cage Jock. They're both adult performers. They both do gay porn. And they wanted to shoot together. They're both really interested in...
But did you approach them or did you know them?
Well, I've worked with Cage Jock, has been in actually every single issue, so he's sort of a muse. And he's also very down to Frock. Like, he just can't get enough time in front of the camera.
What does Frock stand for?
It doesn't stand for
okay,
anything.
all right. I thought it was
But it kind of sounds
slang
like...
that I wasn't aware of. Okay, right. Okay.
Yeah, but they, he's somebody that I've shot with a lot. He's an OnlyFans performer. He's always in front of a camera. But they wanted to shoot together, and this to them was like a softcore shoot because they both do pretty hardcore stuff on camera, and they wanted to do something what they were describing as like softcore, playful. So this is where
Frock is definitely erotic. Let's go to the next image, and this is of course Buck Angel, the famous
Yes.
trans adult performer. Did you know Buck though?
I had known Buck for a while, but we connected through Instagram, and we just started talking. And he was in New York, and I'd messaged him, and the next thing he was just started texting me. So we met that afternoon, started talking, and we wanted to shoot together. But I'm super inspired by Buck. He was literally the first trans man in gay porn, and that was probably 2005 or 6 was when that stuff was going on, and it had been a really long time since anybody had really approached him to have a conversation about what's going on in the world now in gay porn and how many more trans men there are in the scene. So I just wanted to take a moment to isolate Buck on his own and, spend time with him and give him that full editorial treatment that a mainstream magazine
Which
would
he
give a celebrity. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, Buck's gotten kind of into some Twitter wars with some younger trans people who attack him for bizarre. I mean, I shouldn't get into it here, but
He is controversial. He is not somebody that everybody agrees or likes,
he
but
speaks his mind, and I think he's got the right to. He's a trailblazer. Anyways, let's go to the next image before I get myself into trouble. Okay, here we go. We'll talk about sexy.
There you go.
Now, this is Tammy Brown, of course.
That is Tammy.
A RuPaul Drag Race contestant.
yeah, Tammy, another person who I just reached out to through Instagram when we started talking. This is the 3rd issue of the magazine. So Joey Arias was in the first one, Lipsinka was in the second one. So there's always sort of a drag icon, somebody of that nature.
Was this in LA? Or
This was here. She was here for a show, and we connected while she was in town. We hadn't really planned to do a nude shoot necessarily, but sort of between, I saw that she was, changing drag, and there was kind of a romantic moment. It didn't feel like it was like a lusty drag nude illusion. It was just kind of a quiet moment, but I really like it. It's sort of
good.
become a
It's very
signature too.
And also it's really cool. It looks kind of like 1950s, it's a very old-fashioned shot in many ways. And speaking of nudes and drag, let's go to the next image. And here we've got Lipsinka. Oh my goodness, look at that. I will say Lipsinka's body looks hot for a person of her age. Whoa,
It does in that photo, yes.
Now, in that photo?
It does in that photo.
All right. Okay, the photographer never gives...
Lipsinka is lovely, and this was a really great moment. She had a nude body stocking that was made for a Broadway Bears show.
Oh, how smart.
And she had brought it to the shoot, and we were shooting, and it just kind of kept going and going and going more in this direction. And I was like, let's just do this nude.
But is the nude body stocking on there?
It is, but there's been a little digital love to
okay, all right.
make her look a little more nude.
Well, it's I'll give her credit. You know what I mean? I love the shadow and stuff. It's very showbiz. Let's go to the next image. You must be. And what's this?
It's a cake. It appears.
But is this a person that's eroticizing the cake?
It's open to your interpretation, Linda. This girl's name is Chartreuse. She's a performer. She performs at the Box. She does burlesque. These pictures are in black and white, but she also has shockingly green hair and has sort of a very, almost like a drag energy about her. And she also loves sitting on cakes. And I'm open to that.
Now, you must be a good photographer to get everyone to take off their clothing. So
I mean, a lot of people are very enthusiastic to take off their clothes. I think there's a world that exists on alt Twitter and OnlyFans that is definitely part of this community that also deserves to kind of cross over a little bit because it is limited if you are somebody who's doing sex work, if you are doing burlesque, if you're on OnlyFans. That's how you like celebrate your sexuality in your life. It's kind of limiting, but you know.
And now you've got an OnlyFans too for Frock magazine. I mean, do you specialize, or you just put a page like behind the scenes stuff? Or
I mean,
what?
a lot of the stuff that goes in the magazine is being published specifically because there are not a lot of places to put it. You know, OnlyFans is not like a glamorous website necessarily, but it's a place where you can post content like this.
But are you posting more explicit content?
Yes.
Okay.
A lot of the stuff that's in the magazine is also on OnlyFans, and we tend to use the OnlyFans as a place to put the work first so you can access it if you want to see it. And again, it's a platform where we can put that stuff up and share it without it being, you know, taken down or flagged.
Oh,
anything
that's
like
smart. Let's go to the next image, please. And look at that little kitty. I thought that was so cute. Who's that kitty?
Her name's Layla.
Oh, and
She's the cat from RuPaul's Drag Race.
RuPaul's Drag Race?
RuPaul's
What is
Drag
that?
Race.
I mean,
I still want to, I mean, I shot this cat for, like, during the quarantine. I think we did probably 5 or 6 shoots because the cat literally has a drag closet, and the person who owns the cat has been making outfits for the cat weekly as long as the show's been going on. So we decided she needed to be in the magazine, of course, if she's a drag legend.
it's adorable. Now, how many issues have you done of Frock so
There's
far?
3 that are out now. The 4th one, which will be a color issue, is going to be out in the next couple of weeks.
Oh my God, how exciting. Now, because, who was I talking to this earlier with? Someone in our audience who will be up here later. There's not many, where do you distribute it? There's not as, like back in the day, there used to be a lot of like, you know, indie boutiques and gay bookstores and stuff where you could distribute such stuff, but how do you distribute it now?
I was very lucky and very surprised to find out that when I printed this thing that there was like a need and a desire for this type of stuff in the world. You know, a lot of people think that print is dead, but I think there are a lot of people who know things like Butt, who know things like Straight to Hell, who have, you know, copies of My Comrade and hold on to them, and they're very special. And people wanted it. So I literally just walked into Casa Magazines, walked into McNally Jackson, and started a conversation with those people there, but also connected with the distributor in Europe. So we send issues that go to Europe and get sent literally, like, I get tagged in places in like Berlin and Switzerland and New Mexico and all places.
Nice. Is New Mexico in Europe? I can't
I
remember.
wouldn't say Mexico. Okay. Yes, New Mexico is not in Europe.
All right. 2 more questions, and you know them. What is the goals and plan? Is this no? What's the first one I want to ask? What's the downfall? What's the hardest part? The challenge.
I think this question is the biggest challenge so far, to be perfectly honest.
All right, Eli, what is the biggest challenge of putting out Frock?
I mean, I really, honestly, it's like my favorite thing I do because it just, you know, it's like putting a drag queen on stage. I'm like, I would love to just do this all the time and just keep going. So I don't really, there's no downfall for me, honestly.
And goals and dreams with the magazine?
The magazine is great, but like print is not exactly the fastest way to put things out. So thankfully, we are partnering with somebody who makes porn sites, and we are developing a full porn site where you can access all of the imagery and all of the video content that's been made along with this stuff. So it's going to be, you know, full tilt.
You're an entrepreneur. Let's hear it for Eli, everybody. Thank you, Eli. Thank you so much. All right, everybody, 2 more mags to go, and our next is, we've actually got 2 people that are going to join us on stage. So we got a couple chairs and a couple microphones. Let's hear it for Gayletter. Come on up. Hello. Hi, Tom. I didn't get to say hello earlier.
Hello.
Hello. Will you on the far left introduce yourself, please?
Abby, I'm the co-founder of Gayletter Magazine.
And my darling.
Tom, the other co-founder of Gayletter Magazine.
Very nice. Now, how long has Gayletter been around? And Gayletter's a print magazine. You put some over there. I know that you want. We've got them for sale even. How long has Gayletter been around? How many issues have there been?
We're working our 16th issue now, so that's 8 years in print.
We had a newsletter for a bunch of years that we started during the global financial meltdown in 2008, and we did that for probably 5 years. I think we wrote like 2 novels worth of weekly recommendations about where to go out.
Yeah, I used to get it. It was great.
You were in it a lot.
You guys were so generous. You would do those newsletters, but you wouldn't even have links necessarily.
No,
So it was kind of cool. It was like you had to figure it out.
It was a PDF, or it was a JPEG.
It was meant to be more of like a zine sort of situation that, because of the saturation of the internet, we wanted to be more like still. Kind of like something you will print out, you're like, okay, I'm going to do these 5 things that week.
We didn't make
along with it.
any money from doing that, but it was
Well,
it was a
then-
fun project.
Was the thought that this newsletter is so much fun to do that we'll turn it into a magazine?
Well, yeah. I mean, it started one night because we were at Arby's house drinking and, doing other things. And we just thought there was nowhere that was doing, there was no kind of guide to the parties that we were going out to. So, when you're high and like feeling like you can do anything, we were like, we should do that. So we started that. And then, Arby has a magazine background and I sort of have a writing for magazine background. And so we thought, why don't we turn it into a magazine? Well, first a website and then a magazine. We kind of went reverse from most people. We went digital to print because ironically, there's more money. It was easier for us to make money from print advertising than digital advertising. And we love print, obviously.
Well, let's put a slide up. Abby, we're going to get you to comment on this first one. Now this, oh my goodness, you were just talking about Marc Jacob appearing in Butt magazine, and you got him too. Now, when was this?
Issue 5. Do you remember the year?
Abby's better with names and numbers than I am.
I don't really remember the year. This was issue 5, so...
When did the magazine come out?
So 2015. So issue 5. So this would have been like 2017, I think it was.
But
yeah.
that was a real coup to get Marc Jacobs, wasn't it?
It was.
Yeah, it was. I think that I met him previously at a party, and I showed him like issue 2, and he liked the magazine. I guess by the time we got to do this idea that we wanted to have him in the Keith Haring bathroom, it worked out. So
I mean, as he was in a big supporter of Butt, and he's a big supporter of gay culture and queer culture, and always has been. And he was very generous to do this cover because we weren't really that well known at all. And having him on there really did help bring in a lot of other people that we were going to have on the cover subsequently.
Very nice. Let's go to the next image, please. And now, Abby, who's this, please?
So this is Frank Ocean. This was the cover image by Collier Shore for issue 10.
Yeah.
And this is like a huge thing for us in terms of like bridging this sort of underground, cultural diary that the newsletter was doing, and being able to get like a celebrity of this magnitude to...
Who has very serious NDAs and contracts to do anything with. And everyone said to me, everyone I spoke to was like, that's not going to happen. He's not going to do that. He's going to pull out. We tried to do this. A lot of people had a lot of things had not happened. So it was a very, very complicated
And there was such a
process.
huge buzz about him at that time, too. That seemed like a really get,
Well,
as they say in the industry.
He'd never done anything overtly gay. Like, he had come out in his album, but he'd never really spoken about it in press, and he'd never really addressed it publicly. And this was the first time he did like a 2-hour interview with us, and was very open and very, very lovely.
Very nice. Let's go to the next image, please. And now here is, I can't remember his name, the comedian.
Julio Torres.
Yes, Julio Torres.
So this was photographed by Brian Vu and Tyler Akers, who helps us with the magazine. He's an art editor. He did the set design. And it was a portrait for a profile. He's a comedian. We wanted to take him to space.
His Instagram handle is Space Prince Julio. So we kind of played with this idea of putting him in space, and Tyler created this sort of space.
Well, what's interesting, too, about Gayletter is that it's a lot of fashion. I mean, it's a fashion magazine in many ways, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's stylized. So yeah.
I think it is because, we both like fashion and,
I think we also always wanted the idea of having this magazine who was seen as a zine to also be a real magazine with credits and whatnot. And I think that being in print, that was sort of like a smart move in terms of getting advertisers or
Yeah.
being able to evolve the brand.
Like our biggest advertisers are fashion brands, so you know it helps to put their products on people when you can.
Secrets out.
Yeah, there you
Could we
go.
go to the next image, please? And now, Will, okay, explain this. I thought was this a fashion editorial?
Yeah, it was a story. This was photographed in my house, and it was a story about socks and feet. I mean, it was photographed by Mac Robb, and it was just a whole bunch of people who were wearing socks. This is like the more stylized image and the simpler, but we just thought that it was just such a beautiful photograph that it had the socks, but it also has a bot, so it kind of gave more.
No, there's really a lot of beautiful photography in Gayletter. I mean, it really stands out. It's like, you know, arty. Can we go to the next image, please? And Tom, can you tell us about this one?
Do you remember the issue? Tom has a hard time with numbers.
We don't need to know the issue, but was this a fashion layout?
It was. It was
Yeah.
a profile on Neil, which is the accessories that they're wearing. So we wanted to take this sort of, you know, fashion idea into like, let's take these guys and be more like an idea of rugby. You know, they're all gay, and we thought, I think it kind of.
But it kind of was like a Bob Miser inspiration of this kind of like wrestling vibes.
Wanted
as
to
well.
be gay and fresh.
But
Yeah.
they're models, right? Or people that you would cast.
They are. Most
No.
of them, well, half of them are
Half
models.
of them are models. These two guys are model professionally. I think we cast a lot from the community.
Yeah.
We believe that they're all models, that everybody can be a model. So we kind of like to do that mix. We sort of move away from using models. We thought it was like too much waste of time with dealing with the agency and whatnot, when we can just ask someone, hey, do you want to be part of this editorial?
Well, when we first started, we would reach out to modeling agencies and say, do you have any models that you could send for this shoot? And they'd say, what's the name? And we'd say, Gayletter. And they'd say, no, we can't send them because, and we'd say, why? And they'd say, because, well, they won't be able to get a Macy's campaign if they're in a gay publication. You know, and I would say, well, you're gay, the model is gay and wants to do it, we're gay, everyone involved in this is gay, so I don't understand where the problem is, but they wouldn't send them, so we cast it off Instagram, and a lot of those people that we found on Instagram then became models and were in runway shows and in campaigns, so, you know, it was a full
Showed them.
circle.
Yeah, really, got revenge. Can we go to the next image, please? And this is, I'm guessing, Amanda Lepore, right?
It was photographed by Leah Clay.
Yeah, Leah Clay in our old office, and I think we just love this image because there's not many people in the world that have a silhouette that is iconic. You know, she is the original Kim Kardashian in terms of like a recognizable body the world over. And we just love that, you know, you can tell her from behind.
Yeah, it's a great image. I mean, Amanda's been photographed so much, but this really stands out as unique. Could we go to the next image, please? And this, tell us, please,
So
Abby.
this was I started to follow Robert Coombs, photographer, who now has a residency in Fire Island. And I just like the idea of having someone like him, he's in a wheelchair, to photograph someone of this matter, to be sort of like a regular swimsuit shoot. And I thought they were a great pairing. It was during
Tell us who this
COVID.
is.
This is Reno Gold, and he is a major OnlyFans model. In the interview that we did, he told us he makes $120,000 a month on OnlyFans. He's like one of the biggest in the world, and in Florida, he lives in Florida, and he's very dedicated to his craft.
Good for him.
So it was just a simple beach shoot, you know. We sent him a whole bunch of swimwear, and they went to the beach. And this was one of the photos. We just liked this photo. Thought it was graphic.
Was this where was this shot?
It was in Florida.
In Florida.
Oh, okay. All right, next image, please. And we've got another something to show you. Oh, well, look at that.
This is Honey Dijon shot. Oh yeah, it's,
You know what? I'll give you two good reasons why I like this photo.
hold for laughs.
No. Did Honey suggest she wanted to go topless, or did you?
Well, this was shot with Matt Lambert, who does do who does also shoot porn as well as like fashion editorials and things. And they live in Berlin, and we said, just go for it, like do whatever you want. This was a collaboration with Calvin Klein. They were upset that when the photos came back, and there was
They saw the cover.
when they saw
We
the
didn't-
cover,
We didn't tell them.
because we didn't.
Klein was upset?
They were upset
Yeah.
because there was boobs. Her boobs were out, and they were like, you know, you should have told us. We needed to get this cleared through, blah blah and blah blah. And our approach has always been, you know, ask for, apologize later, rather than ask for permission. So
Yeah, it was also like such a happy moment. You know, we told her we wanted her to look like she was celebrated, to be sort of
Yeah.
like this image of joy. You know, and we were like, we don't need to be censoring a trans woman. So
No.
it's sort of. I think that's our angle for us to fight this sort of idea that somebody shouldn't be topless. And we're like, actually, it's an underwear shoot, so topless is probably
Kind of goes with the territory. Speaking of honey, by the way, next week, if I may do a little plug, same space, Wednesday, it's going to be like a live version of like a talk show similar to this, but Honey is going to be one of the guests, actually. She's in town. Let's go to the next image, please. This is hysterical.
this is Cole Escolar.
Is this the current issue?
Yeah, and this was shot by Norbert.
Yeah.
Yeah, by Norbert.
Was this Cole's idea to style it like this?
Well, so we had this idea to do it. We like to have fun with our shoots and be a little ridiculous at times. So we had this idea, or Abby, did you have the idea?
I think it was your idea. You got the boobs. The boobs. Yeah.
But the idea was whale tail. We just loved the image of like the whale tail peeking. You know, it was very like Paris Hilton 2003. And so we thought, what if we put the whale tail on 3 comedians? So we did Joel Kim Booster, Matt Rogers, Cole Escola. And Cole, I had these boobs. These were latex boobs that I had worn in a private drag competition that we have with our friend, William, who's also here. And we just said to Cole, would you like to... This was actually in my apartment. And that photo now hangs on that wall behind him. And he embodied the whale tail aesthetic better than anyone. I mean, he's just a dream.
What's it called, a whale tail?
Whale tail. It's
I didn't know there was a term.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it looks like a whale tail.
Okay.
You get it?
Get it. Could we go on to the next image? And now this was a real get too, wasn't it?
Yeah, this was Charlie. Charlie had wanted to do this.
This is Charlie X.
Charlie XCX had wanted to do a cover with us for some time, and we were trying to figure out how we would do that, and what way would it make sense for Gayletter. So we shot it in LA at the Tom of Finland Foundation because we just felt like that was a great. She lives in LA, and that foundation is just an amazing place, and we thought it would be a great collab. So that's one of their like dead motorbikes that we rolled out onto the street, and that's one of their bags that they do with J.W. Anderson.
It's a hot photo.
And she was down. She was down for everything. All she said when we were shooting this was just make sure you can't see my pussy, like, because the panties were like sheer, and she was like, "I'm good with everything, but just I don't want to go that far."
What a prude. Next image, please. And I think we wound it up. Sorry, I thought. I'm going to ask you a question, Abby, and then I'll ask you to Tom. What?
The same question?
Well, yes, why not? I'll ask you, what is the greatest challenges of doing Gayletter?
I think it's obvious, but for an independent magazine, it's funding. The goal is just to, create a magazine that you can treat it just like a regular magazine. Conventional magazine, Condé Nast, being able to pay people, being able to collaborate with the best artists and fund it. So I will say that's sort of an obvious, because sometimes we have an issue that we're like, we could print this issue, but can we print the next issue? And there's a lot of fighting and hustling to get that money and to kind of keep the content fresh and continue to be inspired without the money. So I think that's the challenge.
Would you agree, Tom?
Yeah, that's the biggest challenge for the magazine. When we're making the magazine, it's proofreading. I just really have a struggle proofreading. I'm not very good at it, but I have to do it. So that's probably my biggest challenge.
Goals and aspirations, my darling.
I mean, the goal is to keep printing. You know, I feel like we really like having the magazine to be in print, to be able to sort of record the moment that we're in and to promote and elevate queer culture. I think that's probably the goal.
Very nice. Tom, would you like to add to that?
I think Abby said it pretty well.
Yeah, I didn't even think about it.
Bravo. Let's hear for Abby and Tom, everybody. Thank you, guys. All right, we got one more magazine to go. Now, My Comrade, if I may mention, started in 1987, so My Comrade's old, but this magazine really predates it, starting in 1971, I think. Now, the person that founded is not here, but the person that's taken the baton and kept it going is here. Let's hear it for Straight to Hell magazine with Billy Miller. Hi, Billy.
Is this on? Yeah.
Oh, Billy, you don't have to show my magazine right now. Okay, yes, spotlight's on you. Now, Billy, will you just tell us, actually, could we go to the first image? Billy, tell us a little about Straight to Hell, would you please? Am I right that it started in 1971?
73.
73.
So it was started by my friend Boyd McDonald, and Boyd had been a writer with magazines like Time and Newsweek, and he didn't like those jobs, but he got good at writing that type of doing that type of writing and condensing things. And so he took his welfare check and used it to publish the first Straight to Hell. And Straight to Hell Boyd was sort of punk before punk in a lot of ways.
I think, actually,
you know?
let's go to the second image. I think it's a picture of Boyd himself. And Boyd was kind of middle-aged even when he started the magazine, wasn't he?
He lived in what they call a SRO on the Upper West Side, on the far west 72nd, in a hotel that was all old guys, and they shared a bathroom on the floor. And Boyd had been living there since the 50s, and I used to go and visit him all the time, and he basically lived on black coffee and sugar donuts. Seriously, that's all he ate. He didn't eat anything else.
He was eccentric, right?
He didn't have, I helped him take his refrigerator and stove out of his room. So he didn't have a stove or a refrigerator.
So did he start Straight to Hell? Well,
Yes.
Basically the format of Straight to Hell was like first-person sexual encounters.
Oh, right. They're
Sex
sexual
encounters, right?
histories. It almost seems like I'm talking too loud here.
No, you're fine.
Sexual histories, yes, that people sent in, and it became a hit right off the bat. And he got a lot of followers, people like Gore Vidal and
but
William Burroughs and other people.
Oh, really? But it was all anonymous, the people that would...
Yeah, but he did interview William Burroughs.
Oh, I see.
And what happened with that one was that I had seen on one issue that he was going to do that, and he announced he was going to do it, but then I never saw what happened. So I called James Garholtz, William Burroughs' boyfriend and editor, and he said that James, thought that William's interview was too embarrassing. So he held it back, and he donated it to a university in Ohio.
Really?
So that's one of the things I've been meaning to do.
But Billy, a typical Straight to Hell, though, was just maybe one-page stories at the most of someone having a sex encounter, like they would go to a gas station.
Well, but Boyd's editing was very specific because he was, what made Straight to Hell something wasn't so much this, it was the stories, and there wasn't really anything like that at that time. But it was also Boyd's sardonic, dark humor and his politics, his anarchist politics. So that was mixed in, and it was beyond raunchy. In fact, I don't say this very often, but a lot of the early Straight to Hells, I can't reprint.
Oh.
Because there would not be politically correct in today's world for a lot of reasons. But you have to remember, in those days, they were selling what someone would call kiddie porn on the street on 42nd Street.
Oh, yeah, I loved it. Oh, I mean, yeah, those were the days.
But
no,
anyway, so it's a different environment. altogether.
Yes, no, I understand.
But
of
also,
course.
one difference is in those days, and when I first started doing it, there were still dirty bookstores and gay bookstores. As far as I know, this one, the Bureau over there,
The one at the Gay Center?
as far as I know, and maybe I'm wrong, but and I've done a little research, I think that's the only gay bookstore in America.
That's.
I don't think there are any more at this point.
If you've done the research, I'm sure you're right.
Well,
but that
I know,
is
because they all went out of business.
flabbergasting.
You know.
Anyways, how would Boyd solicit people to
Well-
submit?
Well, first of all, they had dirty bookstores all over the place, like 42nd Street, everywhere. So he would first go and just pass them out, and then he had distributors, and I ended up inheriting his same distributors. And so initially, I'd just give it to them, and they would put it all over the world. Particularly a place called Bookazine, which has stopped distributing. Basically, all the distributors went out of business.
Well,
really.
when did Boyd die?
He died in '92, but I started doing it in '89.
Oh, okay. By then you had taken over.
Well,
the
there was
publishing.
another guy in the middle, Victor Weaver.
Oh, yes.
And so Victor did it in the mid-'80s, and so he and Trey Spiegel used to do parties at the Pyramid.
Yeah.
And, you know, you may remember they had, I don't know, all kinds of people went to those,
Yeah.
including Andy Warhol and
Cookie Mueller.
everybody. And but then Victor moved to London in the about '86, and at that point, Boyd started talking to me about doing it, but I didn't pay that much attention. And then he just asked me if I wanted to do it, and I never thought about it, so I started doing it. And in the beginning, this is pre-computer, I literally put it together with Scotch tape and staples. But since then we don't do that. But did that originally.
Let's go to the next image, please. And now here is like a typical layout, right, from the magazine.
Well, he always had different names like that too. I wish I could remember some of his stuff, but he was a very funny person. Like he had a picture one time of Lucille Ball, and underneath it said, and she was older. She had like crow's chicken neck, and underneath it he wrote Lucille Testicle. So he would have things that say like, is it appropriate to eat shit? And then he'd say, the answer would be, yes, if you gulp it down with copious amounts of piss, So this is like in 1973, So.
And then he would have, it was mostly text, but he would have photos, but those photos were those.
Because we used these photographers who were still, studios that were still running at that point.
But would you get their permission? Or would
Oh,
you,
yeah,
you
definitely.
would?
Oh,
Okay,
no,
'cause-
no, yeah.
I thought that was more just kind of like.
Oh, no, nothing in
Oh,
Straight to Hell
okay.
is ever just found or anything.
Oh,
I
all
got
right.
the permission from every single photograph that's in there. So Bob Miser, he had been using Bob Miser's photos, and I was already a big fan of Bob Miser. So when he asked me to do it, I called Bob Miser, and I visited him in L.A., and then, after he died, and it's a long story about my involvement with Bob Miser, but we just kept using those same people and David Hurls of Old Reliable. But then those people, that whole world changed. So I started finding just friends of mine, like Slava and
They would
other
contribute
people.
photos.
Yeah.
And Straight to Hell was small, too, a smaller magazine.
Yeah.
And do you have one?
No, I was going to say though that. Go ahead.
Anyways, it was a small magazine, too, so it had kind of like, this kind of like clandestine, a feeling about it, too, like you were able to smuggle it into anywhere. Can we go to the next image, please? And now this is interesting. This is how zines used to communicate back then. Because when I was publishing My Comrade, I became familiar with like Vaginal Davis's magazine in LA, and I became familiar with Bruce LaBruce's magazine in Toronto. But we didn't know each other then. But this was all snail mail back then.
But we all got to know each other about this time, though.
Yes, well, exactly.
Yeah.
And this was a zine conference that was held in Chicago.
Yeah, so this was Steve Lafreniere did this at the Randolph Street Gallery, and so Vag and Bruce LaBruce and a lot of people from Toronto and LA and New York came, and we had heard about each other. This is before the internet, so we first time we met each other, and then the following year, Dennis Cooper did the same thing, a little bigger in L.A., and so that was Vag performed, and my friend Terrence Smith, Joan Jett Black, performed, and so yeah.
I was actually invited to this one, but this was a case literally of my invitation being lost in the mail.
You would have loved it. It was fun.
I would have enjoyed it, but the postman did not
so
deliver.
So that's my T-shirt. It's got.
Oh, that's your T-shirt for
That's
it?
like my T-shirt
that's
in
so
the dirt.
cool.
It's really dirty though. That's why I didn't show the
And
whole.
I
part
remember
of it.
some of these magazines like Screambox and JD's was Bruce LaBruce's and Fertile Jackson.
And Bimbox,
Latoya
did you
Jackson.
already say that one?
Bimbox,
Yeah.
yep, I met those people. But I didn't know many of these. Thing was a great magazine.
was a
that
great
was out of
magazine.
Chicago. That was a black magazine, like a black gay magazine. That was really good, actually. I
Yeah.
think Thing has had some attention paid to it since. The people that did it mostly, I think they all died, unfortunately.
They all unfortunately
but
died,
that was a
yes.
great magazine. Anyways, let's go to another image. And this is a more modern version, right?
I'm forgetting the photographers now.
Oh,
Other
you
people
must know
probably-
Mac back there, too. Okay, you're right.
Luke, I forget his name. He also died a few years ago. I don't know. I'm
Well, that's
old.
okay, but what I think this is it shows how the magazine segued into a more modern age with kind of like, a little bit of a slicker look, but with the same sort of aesthetic.
Well, yeah, so what I've been doing for a number of years now is I feel like if you do anything that's at all related to fashion, then you have a future in publishing because that's still a viable market and there's still distributors for that and still stores that will take it. And then the only other thing is art, but that's a really small market and it's very competitive and stuff. So the porn thing doesn't really exist anymore. So I thought, well, I can't do fashion. Who's going to give me an ad? And it wouldn't even make any sense. So I've been doing editions and books. So I've done about 30 books.
Of Straight to Hell.
It's called Straight to Hell Editions, but it's not Straight to Hell. Like, we just came out with a new one of Scott Ewalt that's a flip book.
Oh, yeah,
It's
I saw that. It's got a
go-go
copy.
dancer with
Yeah,
T-shirts.
it's cool.
And this one he did for the Circus of Books.
Oh,
I curated some shows in L.A. And actually, Buck Angel is in here, too. I curated, it's Tom Fenlon. So I curated some shows at Circus of Books because Rachel and her parents are friends of mine. I used to sell to her parents. And so we did 2 shows there. And then, so I did that. And then this was like a zine
Oh, that's cool.
thing.
What is this of then? Oh, I see, like old ads from like old porn
Well,
ads?
it's an artist, and he did a sort of porn thing, but it's got the names of blue chip artists on it.
So Billy, you're keeping right now at least, you're keeping your kind of publishing / art, outlet going through producing your own
Yeah, but we also
publications.
do print editions. I did some stuff with, I did one with Danny Fields and with Slava, and I can't remember. There's about 50 or 60
Well, what about
artists.
Straight to Hell itself? Is there plans for another
Well, yeah. The
issue?
next one would be number 69.
Wow.
So I kind of have to do that. But the thing is, I feel like if I do it, I'm just going to be sitting around in my storage space because the distributor is not going to take it.
No.
And there's,
Well, you know
like,
what though? But
hardly anybody will
there
take
is-
it.
No,
so.
but there is such, I think, a reverence for a magazine like that that's been around for so long now. A real interest. I mean, even if you didn't publish that many issues, just do like a one-time distribute thing, have them come to you, sell out, maybe not each and every copy, and, that's how you do it. They will come to you.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I'm not a one-man operation. I need a lot of help, so I have to find people to
All right,
help
well,
me with stuff like
All right.
that.
Well,
So-
all right. Well, we'll get you some help.
You'll-
Okay. Would you go to the next image? I think we just have a couple more to go. Now, this, like My Comrade, Straight to Hell has had its own gallery exhibit. Correct? No, this was at.
This was in 2008 at Exile Gallery in Berlin. So it was in several rooms. So we have blow-ups from the magazines, and then there's original photographs by a lot of different photographers. And then in another room was a cinema that showed films from the artists and from people that send in things. And then we had a night of films at the Berlin Porn Film Festival at the same time.
It looks great. I love it.
And
It's
then
really
also I
nice.
did a zine that was went along with that too.
Looks really cool. Next image, please. And
There
oh,
you
well, I
go.
put this up because Straight to Hell happened to have a party at the Cock when it was located here,
Linda organized.
right around the corner. And I was running, with some other people, Michael Magnan and Telfar. We were doing a party called Slurp. I don't know where this write-up's from, though. Do you know?
That's a separate thing that I found that I just put them
that's a
together.
separate thing.
But
Oh, I was
I just thought it
wondering.
was interesting because they mentioned My Comrade and then they mentioned Straight to Hell in
I
connection
see.
with it. So
I see.
I think there's probably a few years in between those pictures.
Anyways, we put up these Straight to Hell backgrounds, and the Go-Go Boys and other assorted people were able to, like, pose in front of it, too. So it was kind of like they had their own magazine covers. And let's go to the next image. And I thought this was interesting. Is this your foray into marketing?
This was part of that same show. So it was a cum rag, and I sent away to Texas to a cattle branding place and used real cattle brand, Texas cattle brand, and cattle branded like whatever amount of those, 200 of those things. And then they came with a zine, and then they had a photograph of one of those photographers, but you didn't know who it was until you got it.
A little mystery. Billy, you deserve more attention than you get sometimes. We'll have to do a longer, extended interview with you sometime. What has been your greatest challenge of doing Straight to Hell?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know. The same challenges everybody has, trying to get it out there. With me, I guess it's focusing, because I always have a lot of things going on, and I've been working on some things for 10 years, and, hopefully I'll live long enough to finish some of them.
You've got an artistic mind. And what is your goals and plans then?
Oh, gosh, so many. But just to live a few more years, I guess. Like, I don't know. That's all I can think of. I mean,
Thank you, Billy,
Thank
for
you.
being a guest. Thank you so much. You may return. Very nice. You could forward one more. By the way, this image that's been showing. Oh, and here's the new My Comrade. There's the new My Comrade magazine. So this was shot. Where's Steve? Where's Steve? Right there. There he is. Steve shot. Put your hand above your head. Steve shot this wonderful copy. This wonderful. This image, which features Macy Rodman and some other beautiful people on the cover. Speaking of Macy, she's going to be one of the guests at that talk show that I'm doing here next week, along with Honey Dijon and others. And I'll post, if you keep abreast of my social media. Thank you, everybody, for joining us so much. It was a wonderful crowd. Let's hear it for all the participants, everybody. That was fantastic.